The Giant Killers by Conway Fitzgerald. Introduction. The creation of a world within the scope of fantasy tasks the author with not only making it compelling, but real enough to satisfy the reader's suspension of disbelief. This foreign world must also be capable of inviting the reader's mind to that place personally, to wonder what they might do in such a situation. When it comes to adventure fantasy, particularly the types akin to Tolkien's Middle-earth or any fiction loosely associated with the role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons, these worlds usually require a great deal of clarification for the uninitiated. So please consider this introduction my best attempt at doing that. Writing The Giant Killers, I must acknowledge the great influence of our most esteemed predecessors, particularly JRR Tolkien and Gary Gygax. It's silly for me to write a story like this and expect to separate myself completely from the foundation they've already dug and set. Clearly, a work like this actually relies on it. There are rules, characteristics, and expectations that really must be followed, or at least acknowledged, in order to adapt this world to one you may have visited before. It's a fictional world where magic spells are cast, monsters are real, and other humanoid races coexist with humans. It is an endless universe of planes where the immortals exist, and they use their power to intercede in the world of men, much as they do in our own world's mythology. When coming up with a phrase or name for this world I've created, I chose the known world, that which is known, or that which has been documented by the planet's intelligent inhabitants. I've created a map of the known world for reference. The key is, it is not planet Earth set in medieval times, though one would be correct to say the technology of the known world's intelligent beings has yet to advance scientifically past that era of human existence here on Earth. Language is also something I need to address. I saw an interview on YouTube with the author R.R. Salvatore at a Comic-Con. He was taken aback when the interviewer suggested no person in such a world as the Forgotten Realms would ever say something like, okay. Like me, he totally disagreed. My feeling is this. In the known world, they do not speak any languages that we do here on Earth, nor do they have any idea what a mile, foot, inch, or pound is. But they obviously have their own systems of measurement and many different words for everything. If I was to burden you, the reader, with having to check a chart for a corresponding explanation in English, the story would languish in absurdity. I look at it like this. I am writing from the perspective of someone on another world, and I'm doing my best to interpret her words for you, the reader, in a way that would best describe what I think she meant, and in a way you might best understand. That should suffice. If you can get to that, then no more need be said about it. Speaking of narration, one of my earlier draft readers told me she thought it was very interesting that I was writing from the perspective of a woman. I am a man, so she thought it very unusual for me to attempt to get inside a woman's head. To be honest, it had never even occurred to me until she said it. Afterward, I did find it a little odd writing about her desires and unrequited love, but being a heterosexual man of middle age and the father of 3 daughters, I feel like I'm observant enough to understand what people want and how men generally differ from women in how they tend to show it. Though it wasn't something I was truly cognizant of while writing. Those of you who write fiction will understand what I mean when I say, most of what I wrote was as surprising to me while writing it as it is to you while reading it. She told me what to say, not the other way around. Religion is a very touchy subject for many, so most writers are wise to avoid it. Mostly because in our own modern world, even though it seems we humans are mostly agreed on monotheism, we still can't seem to agree on the color of shit otherwise. But rather than heed my own caution, and quite unlike other fantasy novelists, the power of faith is something I wanted to explore deeply and without prejudice. There was no Jesus of Nazareth, Muhammad, Moses, or Buddha in the known world. These are humanoids in another world that must find the meaning of their lives in an entirely different light, through different teachers and experiences. Though truth and justice as foundational concepts for an order should not be too far-fetched. The older I get, the more essential those two elements are to me spiritually. But clearly, if I'm going to introduce the arcane power of magic and the brute force of steel, I must also be able to illustrate how faith has an equal, if not greater, place of importance within human hearts. It's not just another form of magic. This is the hand of the immortals, tilting the scale in favor of their most devout believers. I also felt that the impact of the gods was a vital aspect because of humankind's comparatively short lifetime. That is, if I was an elf with 1,000+ year life expectancy, I should know so much more about everything than any human who has ever lived. So how could a human ever keep up with that kind of wisdom and technological insight? That is where dream and vision come into play. The humans view dreams and vision as gifts from the immortals, wisdom offered by those who truly live forever and know all things. All of these ideas added to my hopes to make religion an important aspect, but with no corresponding mores attached to any earthly belief systems. So with that, I offer you a trip to the known world and an adventure that was over 30 years in the making. Conway Fitzgerald, April 2019.